It starts with a coin you've probably seen 1,000 times and ignored every single time. A small, copper-colored Lincoln penny. Dated 2008. No mint mark. Nothing flashy. Nothing rare, at least that's what most people think. But what if I told you one of these ordinary-looking coins has been linked to sales rumored as high as $844,000? Yes, for a penny. Now ask yourself, how many of these have passed through your hands? Because this isn't just a story about a coin. It's a story about overlooked fortune hiding in plain sight. And once you hear what to look for, you may never look at your spare change the same way again. The year was 2008, a transition period for the U.S. Mint. Lincoln cents were about to undergo one of the biggest design changes in decades, with the bicentennial series right around the corner in 2009. But something else was happening behind the scenes. Something quieter, stranger, and far more valuable. Millions of pennies were struck in Philadelphia that year. Unlike coins from Denver or San Francisco, these carried no mint mark. Just a date, 2008, and Lincoln's familiar profile. At first glance, they were completely ordinary. But beneath the surface, a handful of these coins carried something else entirely: mistakes. Tiny, almost invisible errors. The kind that slip through quality control unnoticed. The kind collectors dream about. And here's where things get interesting. Because in the world of coin collecting, errors aren't flaws. They're jackpots. Imagine a machine striking thousands of coins per minute. Now imagine something goes slightly off. A die shifts, pressure misfires, or a microscopic crack forms in the metal. Most coins come out perfect. But a few come out different. And those few? They can change everything. One of the most talked about varieties tied to the 2008 no mint mark penny is the double die error. At first, you might not even notice it. But under magnification, the lettering Liberty, in God we trust, even the date itself, can appear slightly doubled, as if the coin was struck twice out of alignment. It's subtle. But to a trained eye, it's unmistakable. And to the right buyer, it's priceless. Because double dies aren't supposed to happen, and when they do, they create a ripple through the collecting world. A surge of demand driven by rarity, mystery, and the thrill of discovery. But that's just the beginning. There are also reports of off-center strikes. Coins where Lincoln's face is partially missing, shifted to one side like a misaligned photograph. There are die cracks, thin, jagged lines that snake across the surface like lightning frozen in copper. There are even coins with unusual luster or planchet anomalies, where the metal itself behaves unpredictably during minting. Each one tells a story. Each one is a deviation from perfection, and in this world, deviation is value. But here's the twist that most people miss. Not all valuable coins look damaged. In fact, some of the most valuable 2008 no mint mark pennies look completely normal until they're graded. This is where condition becomes everything. A coin graded MS 67 or higher, meaning near perfect, untouched by circulation, can skyrocket in value. Add a rare error into the mix, and suddenly you're not talking about a few $100s, you're talking thousands, tens of thousands, and in extreme, headline-grabbing cases, hundreds of thousands. That's where the whispers begin. Stories circulating among collectors of ultra-high-grade examples, coins so pristine, so flawless, that they stand alone in population reports. Coins that have been authenticated, encapsulated, and fought over in private auctions. Coins that, under the right circumstances, have reached staggering valuations. Up to $844,000 for a penny. Now, let's pause for a second, because this is where skepticism kicks in. How can something so small, so common, be worth that much? The answer is simple but unsettling. Because rarity isn't about how many were made. It's about how many survived in that condition with that exact combination of features, and sometimes that number is shockingly close to zero. Think about it. Pennies are the most handled coins in America. They're tossed into jars, dropped in parking lots, lost in couch cushions, fed into vending machines. They're not preserved, they're used. Which means finding one in near-perfect condition is already rare. Now add an error. Now add demand. Now add time. Suddenly, you're no longer looking at spare change, you're looking at a needle in a haystack that everyone is searching for. And here's the part that changes everything. These coins aren't locked away in museums, they're still out. They're circulating, waiting, in rolls from the bank. In old piggy banks. In forgotten collections tucked away in drawers. Maybe even in your wallet right now. So how do you know if you're holding one? Start with the basics. Look for the date, 2008. Check for the absence of a mint mark under the date. That tells you it was struck in Philadelphia. Then, slow down. Examine the surface carefully. Do the letters look crisp, or is there a faint doubling? Does Lincoln's profile appear perfectly centered, or slightly off? Are there any unusual lines, cracks, or textures that don't belong? And most importantly, what condition is it in? Because sometimes, the difference between a 1-cent coin and a life-changing discovery is a single grade point, 0.1 tiny detail, 0.1 overlooked feature. That's all it takes. And yet, most people will never notice that they'll spend it without thinking, that they'll pass it along without a second glance, that they'll miss it. But not you. Not anymore. Because now you know what to look for. Now you understand that value doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes, it hides, quietly, patiently, waiting for the right person to recognize it. And here's the final twist, the one that keeps collectors awake at night. Every year that passes, fewer of these coins remain undiscovered. More are found, graded, and locked away. More disappear into private collections, which means the window is closing. The odds are shrinking, but they're not gone. Not so the next time you get change at a gas station, or empty your pockets at the end of the day, or open that jar of coins you've been ignoring for years. Take a closer look, because buried in that pile of ordinary could be something extraordinary. A mistake, a rarity, a hidden fortune. And if you find it, everything changes, all from a single penny. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might look at your spare change very differently. It starts in 1980. The United States Mint was producing millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies. Everyday coins meant for everyday use. Nothing flashy, nothing rare, or so it seemed. But hidden among those billions of coins were subtle anomalies. Tiny details, imperfections so small that most people would never notice them. And that's exactly what makes them so powerful. Because in the world of coin collecting, perfection isn't always the prize. Sometimes, it's the mistake. Now here's where things take a turn. Most 1980 pennies were struck in Philadelphia, and coins from that mint traditionally carried no mint mark at all. So at first glance, a 1980 penny without a mint mark seems completely normal. But what if that normal coin isn't so normal after all? What if it holds something different? Collectors began noticing strange variations. Coins that looked slightly off. Letters that seemed thicker, doubled, or shifted. Surfaces that didn't reflect light the way they should. And then came the discoveries that made headlines. Double dies. Off-center strikes. Die cracks that look like lightning frozen in copper. And even coins with unusual luster so pristine, so flawless, that they defy the odds of mass production. Here's the question that should be echoing in your mind right now. How does a 1-cent coin become worth thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars? The answer lies in a powerful combination of rarity, condition, and error. Let's break that down. First, rarity. Not every 1980 no mint mark penny is valuable. In fact, most are still worth just 1 cent. But the rare error varieties? Those are the ones collectors hunt for like buried treasure. Imagine a coin slipping through the minting process with a slight misalignment. Or a die used just long enough to develop a microscopic flaw before being replaced. Only a handful of coins might carry that exact imperfection, that scarcity. Now add condition. Here's where things get serious. A coin that has never been circulated, never touched the wear and tear of daily use, is called mint state. And within that category, there are levels. MS 60, MS 65, MS 67. And then, the elite tier, coins so perfect, so untouched, they look like they were struck yesterday. When a rare error meets near-perfect condition, something extraordinary happens, value explodes, and that brings us to one of the most shocking realities in modern coin collecting. There have been reports of 1980 no mint mark Lincoln pennies, in exceptional condition with rare error characteristics, reaching astonishing market values, with some claims pointing as high as $844,000 for top-tier specimens under ideal circumstances. Let that sink in. $844,000 for a penny. Pause for a moment and think about that. How many pennies have passed through your hands? How many have you ignored? How many are sitting somewhere in your home right now? Here's where the story deepens. Because not all errors are obvious. Some are subtle, almost invisible to the untrained eye. Take the double die error, for example. This happens when the coin's design is stamped more than once, slightly misaligned. The result? Doubling in the lettering or numbers. But it's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's just a faint shadow, a whisper of duplication. Miss it, and you could miss a fortune dot or consider off-center strikes. These are easier to spot. The design is literally shifted, leaving part of the coin blank. But here's the twist. The value depends on how off-center it is. Too little and it's common. Too much and the date disappears, and without a visible date, collectors lose interest. It's a delicate balance. And then there are die cracks and cuds, raised lines or blobs caused by damaged minting dies. To most people, they look like flaws. To collectors, they're fingerprints of rarity. Each one tells a story. Each one could mean money. But here's the catch, and this is where many people get it wrong. Condition still rules everything. A rare error on a worn-out coin might only bring a modest price. But the same error on a coin in pristine, untouched condition, that's where the bidding wars begin. That's where prices climb. That's where headlines are made. Now imagine this scenario. You're going through an old jar of coins. Maybe it belonged to a parent. Maybe it's been sitting untouched for decades. You dump it out on the table expecting nothing more than loose change. And then you see it at a 1980 penny, mint mark. It looks different. The lettering catches your eye. Something feels off. You tilt it under the light. Your heart beats a little faster. Could this be one of them? This is the moment where curiosity turns into possibility. And possibility into opportunity. But let's be clear, not every coin is a jackpot. And the market can be unpredictable. Values depend on grading, authentication, and demand. That's why professional grading services exist, to verify authenticity and assign a condition grade that collectors trust. Because in this world, trust equals value, and value can change your life. Think about it. A single coin, found by chance, sold for a price that could pay off a mortgage, fund a retirement, or completely transform your financial future. It sounds like a dream. But for some, it's already happened. So here's the real question. Why not you? Why not the next coin you pick up? Why not the one hiding in plain sight? Because the truth is, these coins are still out there. They haven't all been found. They're still circulating. Still overlooked. Still waiting. Waiting for someone who knows what to look for. Someone who pays attention. Someone who refuses to dismiss a penny as just a penny. And that someone could be you. So the next time you get change at the store, pause. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for that missing mint mark. Examine the details, because hidden within the ordinary could be something extraordinary. A mistake that became a masterpiece. A flaw that became a fortune. A penny that could change everything. And once you realize that, you'll never look at your spare change the same way again. Imagine holding in your hand a coin so rare, so peculiar, that collectors are willing to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for it. A coin that looks ordinary to the untrained eye, yet hides a secret so shocking it can transform a lifetime of ordinary pennies into unimaginable wealth. This isn't a fairy tale, and it isn't a Hollywood prop. I'm talking about the 1982 No Canada 1 cent. A coin so enigmatic that one sale reportedly reached a jaw-dropping $844,000. And the craziest part? It all starts with a single missing word. Most people don't even notice the details on their spare change. But imagine glancing at a familiar penny and realizing, wait a minute, something isn't right. Canada, that simple word, stamped proudly on every Canadian cent, is gone. Struck in error, the coin reads 1 cent, with no country identification. How could this happen? How could something so small, barely an inch across, slip through the eyes of the Royal Canadian Mint? Here's the thing. Errors like this are the holy grail of numismatics. They're anomalies that defy the ordinary rules of minting. And the 1982 No Canada 1 cent isn't just rare. It's almost mythical. Only a handful are believed to exist, and that scarcity has sent collectors into a frenzy. The story of this coin isn't just about copper and zinc. It's about timing, chance, and a twist of fate that could turn someone's coin jar into a fortune. But let's rewind for a moment. The year is 1982. Canada is minting millions of pennies. The familiar design with the word Canada proudly emblazoned beneath Queen Elizabeth II. For decades, these coins have jangled in pockets, filled piggy banks, and been passed down through generations, virtually unnoticed. Then, out of the blue, a batch of coins emerges with one critical omission. No Canada, just the denomination 1 cent, a subtle mistake that creates an immediate ripple in the coin-collecting world. Why does this error matter so much? Because errors aren't merely misprints. They are glitches in history itself. They're proof that even the most precise systems can falter. And when they do, they create objects of obsession. Consider this. Numismatic experts agree that fewer than 10 of these coins have ever been confirmed in existence. That's not 10,000, not even 100. A single misstep in the minting process, and suddenly, what was once mundane becomes priceless. The suspense deepens when you consider the coin's journey into the collector market. Many of these no Canada pennies surfaced in circulation, mixed with ordinary change, completely unrecognized. Imagine handing someone a coffee, slipping them a $1 tip, and that coin in their pocket could be worth nearly $1 million. It's the ultimate underdog story. An overlooked, forgotten coin suddenly catapulted into legendary status. So how much could one of these pennies actually fetch? Let's talk numbers and prepare to be stunned. While most errors might sell for a few hundred, or even a few $1,000s, the no Canada 1 cent shatters all expectations. The top sale on record? $844,000. That's not a typo. $844,000 for a single penny. One coin, smaller than your thumb, purchased for less than a cent originally, now commanding prices that rival fine art or luxury real estate. You might be thinking, that's incredible, but how does someone even verify such a coin? Verification is no casual process. Experts scrutinize every millimeter, every line, every curve. The missing Canada must be authenticated, the coin's provenance traced, and its condition graded to perfection. In top condition, these coins are worth millions. But even a slight imperfection can significantly affect its value. That's why collectors hunt tirelessly, because the difference between a coin worth $50,000 and one worth $844,000 can be a mere scratch, or the angle of a strike. And here's a twist that elevates the intrigue. Not all error coins are created equal. Some might have the missing Canada faintly pressed, others completely absent. Some are bright, shiny, and almost untouched. Others circulated and worn, hiding in plain sight. The suspense isn't just in finding a coin. It's in finding the right coin. The one that could change your life. The one that might just be in your own pocket right now. Consider for a moment the possibilities. What if you dug through an old jar of pennies saved by your parents or grandparents? What if a coin you tossed aside on a whim turns out to be the elusive 1982 no Canada cent? Dreams of wealth that once seemed distant suddenly feel tantalizingly close. This is why collectors obsess over old coin rolls, garage sale finds, and forgotten piggy banks. One tiny coin can hold the power to transform ordinary people into instant millionaires. And the urgency is real. Every sale, every auction, every collector who discovers one of these coins increases the pressure. As more of these pennies are found, authenticated, and sold, the remaining ones become even more valuable. The market is limited, the demand is insatiable, and history has shown that rare coins like this rarely come back around. The clock is always ticking in the world of numismatics, and every moment you hesitate could mean missing out on a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You might ask, could a coin like this really be in circulation today? Absolutely. Thousands of Canadians pocketed coins in 1982 without realizing what they were holding. One coin may have sat in a desk drawer for decades, untouched. Another may have been handed over at a convenience store. And somewhere, right now, it's waiting for someone with the sharp eye and a little luck to spot it. That's the thrill of the hunt. The tension, the possibility, the almost cinematic twist that this tiny piece of metal could be your ticket to unimaginable wealth. But beyond the money, there's something deeper. Coins like the 1982 No Canada 1 cent are a tangible connection to history, a reminder that small mistakes can create monumental stories. They're a testament to the thrill of discovery, the joy of recognizing value where others see nothing, and the extraordinary waiting to be uncovered in the ordinary. For those who dare to look, the payoff isn't just financial. It's the thrill, the story, the knowledge that you hold a piece of history in your hand. So here's the question that lingers in the air, heavy with suspense. Could the coin that transforms your life be hiding in your own collection? Could the jar of pennies on your shelf, the coins in a drawer, or the change in your pocket contain a fortune waiting to be unlocked? Every ordinary penny you've overlooked could be hiding a secret, a rare gem that collectors would fight tooth and nail to own. The 1982 No Canada 1 cent isn't just a coin, it's a legend. It's proof that fortune favors the observant, the curious, and the bold. It's proof that even the most mundane objects can carry unimaginable value. And most importantly, it's proof that your moment of discovery could be just one glance, one inspection, one spark of curiosity away. So the next time you sift through coins, don't glance too quickly. Don't assume that what seems ordinary is truly ordinary. Somewhere, in the shuffle of cents and nickels and dimes, a tiny piece of history and a potential fortune might be waiting for you. The 1982 No Canada penny is out there. Are you ready to find it? It sounds like the kind of story that shouldn't exist. A modern coin, something ordinary, something you might overlook without a second thought, suddenly worth a fortune. Not hundreds, not thousands, but hundreds of thousands, whispers even claiming millions. Now imagine this. You're holding a small copper coin, barely worth a cent, and someone tells you it could change your life. Too good to be true. Maybe, or maybe not. Because in the world of coin collecting, the line between myth and reality is razor thin, and sometimes, the truth is even more shocking than the rumors. Let's talk about the so-called 2018 Canada 1 cent. Right away, something feels off. Canada stopped minting pennies in 2012. By 2013, they were gone from circulation. So how could a 2018 Canadian penny even exist? That question alone should make you pause. Because when something shouldn't exist, but does, that's where the real money begins. Collectors call these impossible coins. Coins struck outside official records. Coins created by error, accident, or sometimes something far more mysterious. And that's where the story takes a turn. There have been persistent reports, unconfirmed but impossible to ignore, of Canadian-style 1-cent coins bearing dates well beyond their official end. Among them, the rumored 2018 issue. Some claim they've seen it. A few insist they've held one. And a handful say they've sold them. One reported sale figure has circulated again and again. $844,000 for a pristine example. Now let's be clear, there is no widely verified auction record confirming a 2018 Canadian penny at that price. But here's the twist: coins that shouldn't exist often don't show up in neat, public auction catalogs. They move quietly, privately, behind closed doors. So the real question isn't just whether the coin exists, it's this: if it did, would you recognize it? Because history is full of coins that started as rumors and ended as legends. Take the 1943 copper penny in the United States. It wasn't supposed to exist. That year, pennies were made of steel for the war effort. But a few copper blanks slipped through. Today, one of those coins sold for over $1 million. Or the 2000 Sacagawea dollar mule error, featuring the wrong obverse. Another coin that shouldn't exist. Another six-figure sale. So when collectors hear whispers about something like a 2018 Canadian cent, they don't laugh, they listen. Because the value of a coin isn't just in its metal, it's in its story. And this story gets even stranger. Some of the alleged 2018 coins reportedly show subtle anomalies, tiny details that only a trained eye or a very observant collector would notice: slight misalignments in the lettering, variations in the maple leaf veins, unusual luster patterns that don't match standard Royal Canadian Mint finishes. Individually, these details might mean nothing. Together, they start to form a pattern, and patterns in coin collecting often point to one thing: error. Mint errors are the holy grail of modern coin hunting. They're unpredictable, rare, and often discovered by accident. By someone just like you. A double die here. An off-center strike there. A wrong planchet used at the wrong time. Each one a mistake. Each one a potential jackpot. Now imagine combining that with something even rarer. A coin that wasn't even supposed to be made in the first place. That's where the imagination starts to race. What if a leftover die was used unofficially? What if a test strike happened behind the scenes? What if a few coins slipped out, never meant for circulation, never meant to be seen? It sounds like a movie plot. But again, history says otherwise, because the most valuable coins in the world often come from moments that were never meant to happen. Moments no one was supposed to notice until someone did. And that brings us to you. Right now, there are billions of coins sitting in jars, drawers, piggy banks, and forgotten boxes across America. Most are worth exactly what they say. But a tiny fraction, they're different. The challenge is that they don't announce themselves, they don't glow, they don't sparkle. They don't come with a label that says, "I'm worth $844,000. They hide in plain sight, and the only way to find them is to look carefully, relentlessly, with curiosity. Because here's the truth that most people never realize. You don't need to be a professional collector to find a rare coin. You just need to be the person who doesn't ignore it. The person who asks, "Wait, this doesn't look right." The person who takes a second look when everyone else walks away. That's how discoveries happen. That's how ordinary people stumble into extraordinary moments. Now, let's ground this for a second as there are confirmed, widely recognized 2018 Canadian penny worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. No, but does that mean there aren't rare, valuable modern coins out there? Some worth life-changing money? Absolutely not. In fact, the modern coin market has exploded in recent years. Error coins, low mintage issues, and unusual varieties are being hunted more aggressively than ever before. And prices, they've been climbing fast. Coins that sold for a few thousand a decade ago are now selling for tens of thousands. Some have crossed into six figures. A rare few into 7. Because rarity doesn't decrease. But demand, that keeps growing. Especially among collectors aged 30 to 65, people who grew up with coins in their pockets, who understand their history, and who are now looking for tangible assets with real stories behind them. Coins aren't just currency, they're artifacts. And the right artifact at the right time can be priceless. So what should you actually look for? Start simple. Check dates that don't make sense. Coins that appear out of their expected timeline. Look for design inconsistencies. Lettering that seems off. Images that don't quite match what you've seen before. Pay attention to condition. A coin in near-perfect shape can be worth exponentially more than a worn example. And most importantly, trust your instincts. If something feels unusual, it probably is. That doesn't mean it's worth a fortune. But it does mean it's worth a closer look, and sometimes, that's all it takes. One moment of curiosity. One decision not to dismiss something as just another coin. Because the difference between a penny and a payday is often just awareness. So here's the real takeaway. Whether or not a 2018 Canadian penny ever officially existed isn't the point. The point is this. Rare coins are out there. Some are already known. Others are still waiting to be discovered, and the next one, it could be sitting in your home right now in a jar, in a drawer, in a box you haven't opened in years. Unnoticed, undervalued, until someone decides to look closer. So the next time you come across a handful of coins, don't rush. Don't assume, and definitely don't ignore them, because hidden among the ordinary is where the extraordinary lives, and sometimes it only takes one coin to change everything.